Well, hello, hi.
Hi, I'm Dangle.
And I'm Dot, and wow, it's the holidays.
It is the holidays.
Whoops, how did that happen?
Merry,
Merry, and
Yeah.
Happy Hanukkah, and all those
all
things.
those other things. Yes.
Just joy with your family.
Yes,
So we got, different holiday plans.
we do.
It's Dangle and Dot.
Oh, yes.
This one,
I get to go on a trip.
she's going on a 10-day cruise of the Caribbean.
Ah,
Well, what about that?
I said yes 6 months ago. And quite honestly, if I had my way, I'd probably say, geez, we need to postpone it a bit. But you know what? You can't do that.
She's packing her bags.
I'm packing my
Yeah,
bags.
so, someone living with dementia for over 10 years, packing
Yes,
bags, traveling,
Yeah.
international travel.
International. Wow.
Wow, bon voyage. And I have to say, a Dot that's going to stay shoreside. It's a little more somber holiday for me. My mom is at the end of life, and we're just going to keep it quiet and simple and enjoy the moments, precious moments that we have together. And hopefully a very peaceful and calm way.
Yes.
So while this one will be doing her thing, I'm going to live vicariously through her. Fun. Little anxiety, though, you've had.
I have. I
Yeah.
have had some anxiety. It isn't just as easy and fun and a flare. It's like, gosh, got a lot going on at home. Should I really go? What if something happens? Oh my gosh. We cause so much here. We got to let it go. So I've worked really hard in saying, hey, I said yes, I'm going. Got it all cleared at home, and everybody's pushing me out the door.
She sticks to her yes. That's very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
going to love it.
And I'm sticking to my yes to my mother.
Yes,
to
you
really honor her time together and sort of an ending.
Yes.
Some feeling anyway.
Yes. And you know how fortunate you are, a wonderful daughter.
Aw.
How fortunate. There are so many people that don't get along with their parents or their mother or their dad, and it happens.
Yeah, it does.
It happens. And so we are lucky because
Yes,
we've
we're
had
lucky.
great parents and
Been
not
lucky.
that.
Yes.
I think blessed. We're blessed.
Yes. And we're so grateful for you.
We are.
We keep talking about this doing dementia differently business, and we're getting around to it.
We are. We're making inroads.
I know we actually are, little by little. That's how we do it.
We see here and at my house with an illness, you can't let yourself be all in or all out.
Right.
We have to meld it together.
And dance. I'm a dancer. I just dance with life. What comes next? Are we doing the waltz today, or the foxtrot, or a salsa? I don't know.
Flexibility.
Flexibility.
Yes.
But never quitting. We're
No,
not quitters.
We're not quitters.
Woo!
If we say yes, sometimes we halt, Nancy, and sometimes we move ahead. So we're moving ahead on this Caribbean trip, and I'm going to have a good time.
Woo,
I'm going to miss her.
I'm going to miss her. And we hope you have a lovely holiday season. We're going to be checking in with our newsletter and whatever we can rustle up, show you some pictures of somebody having a good time.
We wish the best for you. Bye now.